Okay, so I read the book, and it's got some interesting stuff in it. Um, so what I'd like to do is give you a summary, sort of a book review, if you will. Uh, First of all, I'll start out by saying that it's a work of fiction, all right, but there are some non-fictional elements to it. And what I would in particular like to address are the non-fictional elements. As a fiction, it's very easy reading. It goes fairly quickly. It's engaging. It's well written. It's got good grammar, good styles. It keeps the reader engaged. So work of fiction, it's pretty good. I'd like to focus on some of the non-fictional aspects of it, some of the non-fictional elements. And first thing I'd like to do is I've got some PowerPoint slides over here just to help me remember what it is I want to say. Let's discuss one of the main characters. The main character, the one the book is named after, Ishmael, is a gorilla who can speak telepathically, which on the surface of things seems kind of far-fetched. The reason why Ishmael is portrayed this way is because the argument that's being presented is an argument from an authority. Nowhere is any evidence given to back up any of the claims or any of the assertions. It's an argument purely from authority. We take it for granted that Ishmael, because he's got superior telepathic skills, is an authority and is wise and knows everything. This person is an authority whom we intrinsically trust. No evidence is given. So one of the interesting things is some of the assertions there's actually evidence that is contrary to some of the assertions that are made, and I'll get to that later. One of the other things is it's sort of a construction of sort of arbitrary dichotomy. There's the leavers and the takers. That's kind of an arbitrary line. I'm not sure if I entirely agree with that. It can prove useful, but it's important to note that with any sort of dichotomy, there's always a continuum. So, there's some arbitrary dichotomy that's inserted. We call this class leavers, we call that class takers, but it's actually a continuum. So that's to be taken with a grain of salt. So some of the conjectures that are made are very interesting, but I would not take them literally. So we'll get to the part where he got things right. Okay, so not everything in the book is wrong. So let's start out with the things he got right. Okay, so classical science has sought to conquer nature, and that's been true for hundreds of years. That was the main purpose, and it was always seen that science was to control nature, to control the environment, and clearly that's not something that we can do. It's very difficult for us to control the environment. It's also true that civilization is in a sort of free fall unless we find a sustainable fit with the environment. We can't continue to consume resources at this rate because one day it's all going to run out, right? And that's pretty plain. It's very easy to think that the economy, for example, is working, but it's working over the short term. It can't possibly work with the way it's constructed now over the long term because eventually we're going to run out of resources. Also, the final thing that I think that's right is eliminating the competition is probably a very good definition for evil. It's true that that's something that's so peculiar to mankind that when we tend to be very eliminationists. We have wars against this or that, or the other thing, to eliminate things. So, yeah, eliminating the competition is probably a good definition of evil, and it's something that man does quite a bit of. It's more the dynamics of how many parties are in play. So when there are lots and lots of competitors, eliminating the competition typically is not a good strategy. It's only when the number of participants or the number of parties, if you have social organizations, the number of social organizations, the number of participants decreases, that eliminating the competition begins to be an attractive alternative. So there's the market dynamics which have an inflection point as the number of participants decreases, and going from trying to produce a good product or to compete in a superior manner to turning into eliminating the competition. All right, so having few participants means that eliminating the competition is good from a game theory standpoint. Okay, next, how science has improved. I guess the realization that natural selection is survival of the fittest and not the strongest. And this is something that is very commonly misunderstood. A lot of people think that evolution is survival of the strongest. It's not. It's survival of the fittest. Those who fit within their environment the best are the ones who survive. The ones who overtake their environment and wipe out the environment, are stronger than their environment, will not survive. They will have no environment left to live in. Another thing that's improved is that we've developed an appreciation for how man affects the environment. And one of the biggest ways science has improved is with computers and mathematics. And now we can build computer models that allow us to predict fairly accurately things that are going to happen in the future based on very complex relationships. Now that was not always true. When a lot of science we could predict very simple things without complex relationships. Like we could predict, the arc of projectile, when you shoot out a cannon, that sort of thing. Our ability to predict was very limited to very simple examples, but our ability to predict things has improved with our ability to do the math and to compute the math, and computers has been vital towards that end.